you could please start the recording. This call is being recorded. And Steve, if you could please go ahead and start the live stream. Hello, everyone. This is John Clute, K7SYS, and I am your amateur radio moderator for today's ARIS, Amateur Radio on the International Space Station Contact. I am speaking to you from my home in Sandpoint, Idaho, as we all deal with COVID-19 restrictions. Through the help of amateur radio volunteers and the crew on the ISS, we hope to soon establish an amateur radio contact with the International Space Station as it flies more than 200 miles above the Earth over Belgium. This contact will be performed using the Radio Amateur Telebridge Network, a worldwide network of amateur radio ground stations that enable students to contact the ISS. We're joined today by Jim Stith. Jim, please tell us a little bit about Newcastle High School. Go ahead, Jim.
Good morning, Commander Hopkins. My name is James Stith, amateur radio operator, KI7URL, science teacher and mentor for Newcastle High School Amateur Radio Club here in Newcastle, Wyoming. Newcastle High School is part of Weston County School District Number 1 in Northeast Wyoming. Our district serves approximately 800 students, kindergarten through 12th grade. These are some of my students at Newcastle High School: Trinity, Travis, James, Gunnar, Grayson, Toby, and Nate have been selected to participate in this ARIS contact due to their participation in my computer science class, their interest in amateur radio, and their interest in various STEM fields. My own adventure in amateur radio started many years ago by the constant encouragement of then student Conrad Farnsworth, KF7QYA. As his persistence was the inspiration that led me to this hobby, so I hope that this contact will be the catalyst for further interest in both amateur radio and STEM. We are excited to be on the team to first make an ARIS contact from the great state of Wyoming. This contact has been supported by John Kramer, WY7VAF, of the Northeast Wyoming Amateur Radio Association, NE7WY. This contact is a culmination of almost 18 months of work between myself and various entities, especially John Clute, K7SYS. I understand that you have almost every minute of your day scheduled for you aboard the International Space Station, so it is even more meaningful that you give up your free time to bring us this opportunity to our little corner of the world. Thank you.
Jim, thanks for telling us about your school and your hopes for the contact and your involvement with amateur radio. ARIS is an international program supported by amateur radio operators from around the world. Some members of ARIS are the American Radio Relay League, the worldwide AMSAT, Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation agencies, as well as numerous space agencies, including the Canadian Space Agency, ESA, the European Space Agency, JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency, NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and the Russian Space Agency. The amateur radio ground station that will establish with contact with the ISS is ON4ISS, manned by Jan Populaers, ON7UX, located in Archteller, Belgium. Jan, please tell us a little bit about your station and how you handle today's contact with the ISS.
Well, thank you, John, for the introduction, the opportunity that I have. And this amateur radio station that assists you today with a radio link to the International Space Station is located in Belgium, situated in the southern region near Antwerp in the town of Archteller. This amateur radio ground station is kept operational by the UBA Section AAA, the Antwerp Active Amateurs, and in the realization of this ARIS Telebridge radio station are 6 volunteers directly involved. We use two-way radios, fully computer controlled for frequency control. The antenna tracking both in elevation as in azimuth is also computer controlled. So when I start calling the International Space Station, I use the call sign, they use the call sign Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, and my call sign is Oscar November 4 India Sierra Sierra. So when I start calling, I wait for his answer, and normally this is what you hear when they are under the horizon and we did not establish the contact. So it can happen that we have to call them frequently, a few times before we establish really the contact. So that is in short what I have to tell you, John, and the students.
Very good, Jan. Thank you for introducing us to your station. We have about a little over 12 minutes till contact time. Our contact today is with astronaut Mike Hopkins, KF5LJG, Kilo Foxtrot 5, Lima Juliet George, who will be using the ISS call sign, as Jan noted, OR4ISS. The American Radio League has provided us with a short video that tells us a little bit more about an ARIS contact and how it all happens. Let's go ahead and watch that video.
Hi, my name is Ruth.
And my name is Chris.
You must be pretty excited to talk directly with astronauts on the International Space Station today. While we're waiting for the space station to come over your portion of the sky, let's talk a little bit about how it's going to happen. Of course, Mission Control is in contact with astronauts all the time, using a big radio with lots of fancy equipment.
However, we're going to be using something very different today. We are going to use ham or amateur radio to talk directly to the International Space Station.
When most people hear the word radio, they think of a music radio station, but it's so much more than that. Radio actually refers to the unseen energy that transmits all sorts of signals using electromagnetic waves. At first, people learned how to send signals like Morse code, and then they discovered that you can send so much more, like data, computer signals, and even TV.
Maybe you don't realize it, but you use radio every day. Maybe you watched the TV this morning, or you texted your friends, or maybe even you check social media like Twitter or Instagram.
Let's travel back to space for a minute. Since the beginning of the space age, humans have sent many spacecraft out into the universe. These range from the Hubble Space Telescope, orbiting the Earth daily, and the Curiosity rover exploring Mars. We've even sent a long-distance messenger, the Voyager 1, who has traveled outside of our solar system.
Whether it's capturing a great picture of a far-off galaxy or conducting experiments on the space station, radio has to do with all of these. And today, you're going to be using ham radio. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is ham radio?
Amateur or ham radio is a service and a hobby where operators can talk with people around their neighborhoods, their cities, their country, and even around the world. Amateur radio operators require a radio license from the government. They're not that hard to get. I have one. My call sign is KM4LAO.
And mine is KD8YVJ. Our call signs are a way of identifying who we are to other operators. This lets everyone know that we have the proper license to using the radios.
As amateur radio operators, or hams as we are often called, we can talk with others about basically whatever we want, often science or some new radio gadget that we are interested in.
Let's focus back to the space station and your contact today. Many of the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the space station are licensed ham radio operators. That's why your operators today can contact them. The people here, as well as the astronauts, are licensed to talk to each other, and you are allowed to talk over to their radio.
For our conversation today, we'll need an amateur radio station on the ground, either in this location or somewhere else around the world. We'll also need a radio in the space station.
NA1SS.
You can hear the calls coming. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, the International Space Station, over.
On the space station, the radio transceiver is connected to an amateur radio antenna mounted on the outside. One of these antennas will be used today during our contact.
For our side of the contact, we need a good-sized antenna, a signal amplifier, something to make our signal stronger, and a rotator for turning our antenna. We have to keep our antenna pointed right at the International Space Station. And remember, it's moving across the sky and fast.
To aim the antenna properly, we need to track the path of the space station exactly. NASA uses complex systems to track the path of the space station and other orbiting objects.
The satellite tracking program we are using works out a complicated set of mathematics to provide the orbital location of the space station moment by moment as it moves through space. This information is sent into the computer that controls the antenna rotator, which moves the antenna to follow the space station. Maybe some of you have seen or worked with robotics. That's pretty cool stuff. And just like you can program a robot where to go, what to do, and how to get there, you can also program a computer to tell an antenna how to track the space station across the sky.
You know, it took a lot of planning to get this contact. Several weeks ago, the ARIS operations team had to figure out when the space station's orbit would pass over this location. Then, they had to talk with the planners at NASA's Johnson Space Center. The crew's time is pretty full, so they were able to find a time that could work for the crew members' schedules. Once they found times that would work both in space and here on the ground, the host organized this contact. And in just a few minutes, you'll be hearing and talking to the astronauts.
Well, it's almost time for your contact. It will be exciting, so good luck with it.
So now we understand a little bit about what an ARIS contact looks like from the ground side. Astronaut Tim Peake, KG5DVI, recorded a short video to show us what a contact looks like from the ISS side of things. Let's watch that video as well.
NA1SS, this is N2FJ, over.
NA2FJ from NA1SS for scheduled contact.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim Peake and welcome aboard the International Space Station, where we're orbiting Earth 16 times every day. One of the most rewarding activities that some astronauts undertake on orbit is to talk to schools using the space station's ham radio. Now these are events that are planned by ARIS, which is a worldwide group of amateur radio volunteers who are dedicated to introducing young people and students to science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Now this is the equipment here in the Columbus laboratory, which consists of a handheld radio, a headset, and we also have a ham video unit. Now as the International Space Station orbits above your location, a radio link is established between the ISS and your school. Now because we're travelling at nearly 18,000 miles per hour, which is an incredible 25 times the speed of sound, we usually get about 9 or 10 minutes of good radio contact before losing the signal. So about 5 minutes before the scheduled start time of the contact, I come into the Columbus laboratory and configure the radio so that I'm on the correct channel. And sometimes I'll set up the ham video too. Just before the predicted time, I'll begin to start calling the school using the standard amateur radio calling techniques. For example, if the call sign of your school was GB4 Fun, I would say Golf Bravo 4, Foxtrot Uniform November. This is Golf Bravo 1 Sierra Sierra, listening and standing by. Now at your school, the radio operator will be listening for my call, but may also transmit and try to call me as well. You'll probably have a much more powerful transmitter on the ground than we have up here on board, so I'm likely to hear you before you hear me. Then, once we can hear each other, then comes the best bit, which is actually talking to the students and answering the questions. Once I've answered all the questions, we use the remaining time to say goodbye to each other and end the connection. I'll then spend a few minutes configuring the radio back into a rebroadcast mode, and then I'll go back to my day job, which is of course doing science on board the International Space Station. ARIS is a brilliant opportunity for astronauts to talk to school pupils. It's really rewarding to hear how excited the students are when they're talking to somebody up here in space. And it's a true privilege to be able to inspire our next generation of scientists and engineers through amateur radio.
Well, thank you. Thank you to Tim for making the effort to record that video. Did you all notice that the radio that he was using really wasn't hooked to anything, that in microgravity it was simply floating, if you will, inside of the International Space Station? I always find that pretty interesting to think about. I have about 6 minutes to to acquisition of signal when the ISS becomes available to Jan station in Belgium. We need to be able to see the ISS, to be able to talk to the ISS, or more technically, the antenna needs to be able to see it, because we are using the 2-meter amateur radio band to do this, and 2 meters is a line of sight connection. It means that the transmitting and the receiving stations need to be able to see each other at the time of the contact. And so that's why we need to, we wish we could make the ISS move faster, but it can't be done. That's just the way it works. In response to the COVID-19 situation, the ARIS program, just like you, has had to change our approach. While still able to use the school, Newcastle High School was not able to do their ARIS activities as originally planned or use large-scale gatherings. Rather, they have the students asking questions gathered together using proper COVID-19 precautions in one area. The other students in the school are watching the live stream from their classrooms. We all need to be just as quiet as possible when not speaking. Everything we do on the ISS is classified as an experiment, and actually the ARIS program, Amateur Radio on the International Space Station, is the longest continuously running experiment on the ISS, now having been in operation for over 20 years and celebrating over 1,300 contacts with students, just like you all at Newcastle High School. It's very important that students, when you finish your question, say over. Over is the clue to Jan to switch from transmit to receive, and then the astronaut will say over, and that's the clue to go back the other way, so that Jan can switch his station from back to receive, so that we can hear the astronaut answer. If there is time at the end, and we won't know that until we get there, we have asked Jim, the teacher, to have what we call a 73 round and say thank you to astronaut Hopkins, and hopefully everyone will have a chance to cheer. I have a little over 2 minutes to the contact time. And so I think what I will do at this point is turn it over to Jan. Again, we can't move it any faster. And we're scheduled for the ISS to appear over his horizon at 1746 UTC. I have 1744 right now. So Jan, over to you, and let's wait for these last couple minutes and see how we do with this experiment.
Okay, John, it's a pleasure to do this contact today for me. The International Space Station is 3,150 kilometers away at this moment from my site, and it's minus 5.8 degrees under the horizon. So it's, for me, invisible at the moment. But as soon as it pops up over the horizon, I will start calling a little bit before, and we're trying to establish contact for this school contact today. At the moment, elevation is minus 4.5, and the distance away is 2,880 kilometers. So it's moving fast, and it's moving over my north side. That means my antenna is already appointed in the direction of approach, but it moves over my north side, and that means that my antennas are guided in flip mode, because my stopping point of direction of antennas in the north side, so I have to inverse my antennas for tracking the complete path. And we have normally 12 minutes in the past. The EOS is calculated 18 local time here, 1846. That's 1746 UTC. And loss of signal is calculated 1858. So this 12 minutes, and the maximum elevation of the pulse is 79 degrees. So it's at the moment -0. So we start calling and we wait for the response. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 India Sierra Sierra. This is Oscar November 4 India Sierra Sierra for another scalar contact. How copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. This is Oscar November 4 India Sierra Sierra for another scalar contact. How copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS or 5 ISS. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. This is Oscar November 4 India Sierra Sierra for an aeroscale contact. How copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. This is Owen 4 ISS for an Irish contact. Over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. This is Owen 4 ISS. How copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, going backup channel, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS for Irish contact, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, how copy, over. Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, this is Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, this is Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Owen 4 ISS, how copy, over. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, OM 4 ISS, I'll copy over.
Jan?
Oscar Romeo
Jan?
4,
This is John.
Yes, John?
I got a message from the center that the crew just called down, no joy. They are not copying our signal. So unfortunately, it sounds to me like there is a technical problem with the radio on the International Space Station.
Yeah.
As I said, this is an experiment, and we never know what will happen until it's over. And unfortunately, it looks like with this one, we need to do some troubleshooting on the ISS and find out what happened up there. In circumstances like this, we make every effort to reschedule the contact as quickly as possible. For Jim and the students at Newcastle High School, we do apologize, but this is space and things happen. So please expect a reschedule. Jim, any last thoughts?
Well, thank you, John, and thank you, Jan, for your efforts. It's a disappointment, but I guess we'll talk to him another day.
Very good. And yes, indeed, you will. This is John Clute, K7 SYS, the moderator for this attempted ARIS contact, saying in traditional amateur radio terms, 7 threes and best wishes to all around, and we will see you all again on another day once we get these issues resolved. Steve, you may terminate the web stream, and operator, you may terminate the